Hello, welcome back to the program. My name is Joshy Boy. You can call me Joshy or Josh, I don't care. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be hosting a program that is going to be on today's things that I learned today. I don't know, something like that. Title's in progress still. We're going to be jumping and doing a deep dive into like a topic that is near and dear to my heart. It has to do with the things that I work with in life, things that I've done in my life. So, drop me a like, crank up that volume, and let's get started. The scene is 2009. A young, wee little Joshy boy. I say that I was 18. I was a full-grown adult at this point. I was in college, right? I went to the Savannah College of Art and Design, majoring in sequential art. So I was wanting to be a comic book artist. Okay, look at me. I wanted to be a comic book artist. You know what I am now? I own a game store. Okay. And I do this on the side for funsies, right? So clearly it didn't work out. But I do get to talk about some cool stuff. In this case, my previous passion, right? So in 2009, went to this college, had to take a class that was on comic book history, right? I ended up having to write like a paper and do like a big presentation on my favorite author at that time, which was Ken Akamatsu, right? That is our subject for today. We're going to be following through the life of Ken Akamatsu and just how did we get here? And we're going to be delving into a couple different topics as we go along the way. Just chronologically, I'll be skipping out through some stuff just because of length. You can go and do further research yourself. I'm just going to be hitting on the high points. But a little bit background for this man. He was born on July 5th, 1968, I want to say. Yeah, 1968. July 5th, 1968. His father was a bureaucrat for the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries. So that's going to become relevant later. I couldn't find any additional information about that. And from my understanding, Ken ended up moving around a lot when he was young. But none of that we really care about. What we care about is his later years, right? He, hold on. Let me reappropriate myself. Refocus. Okay. All right. End zone. After failing, let's just jump right. Let's go, Josh. Let's go. All right. After failing to get into Tokyo University, TOU, as many people call it, he ended up going to Cho University and studying Japanese literature there. That's in Hachijo, Japan. I'll just throw up a little boop. Also, if we haven't already, put up some pictures of Ken, what he looked like back then versus what he looks like now. Whatever. Editor, do your job. And don't kill me. Future me, because I'm my own editor. Right? So, but the TOU thing is important because it ended up influencing many things going forward in his life. The first being is that after failing, he ended up getting into drawing doujin. Right? Or for any of you who are non-weebs, hentai. He drew hentai.
Wow.
That's what he did. I know there's doujins that aren't hentai, but I mean, come on, he drew hentai, right? So he went by the pen name Awa Mizuno and ended up getting involved in the doujin circle Q Little. I'm not going to give you any sauce for that. We're all adults here, I hope. Go and do your own research, okay? It's not what we're here for, right? So afterwards, doing this for a while, he ended up becoming pretty popular at the Comiket. It's like the summer markets that they have there selling doujin. But he ended up making his debut into the manga scene, actually really started picking up and making some money when he was 26, so in 1993, right, when he released his one-shot Hatsu Natsu no Kids game. Okay, I don't really know anything about this. I haven't read it. I couldn't find it. Maybe you'll have more luck. It probably shouldn't be too hard to find Googling it. But Hatsu Natsu no Kids game, wrote in 93, right? He ended up earning a Newcomer's Award for that. And that propelled him into, in 1994, when he wrote "A I Love You," which ended up running for 3 years, sold quite a few copies. I think it was like 20 million or something like that. But the main point of that is that in "A I Love You," the main character was also struggling to get into Toyu. So clearly, he's got some issues, as we will see, because in 1998 he ended up writing what many of you know, many of you adored, Love Hina, which was his biggest hit, at least what I personally feel like, personal, okay, my own opinion, all right? Love Hina, in 1998, when he wrote that, where the main character also was struggling to get into Toyu, he had some issues, right? Now, the notable thing about Love Hina, before we go further, was that this introduced the main heroine, Naru, okay? And Naru was, she herself was not based on her, but her outfits were to Ken's future wife, Ken Akamatsu. I can't find a whole lot of information about Ken, other than the fact that she was, at that time, a pop idol. She was a pop idol singer, okay? And all of Naru's outfits were based off of Kanon's outfits. And so I'll do like a side-by-side pictures of some of the outfits so you can see. Love Hina ended up running for 3 years. Oh, hold on, back up, lost track. So Naru was one of the first early examples of tsundere. Okay, Ken did not invent tsundere. That title actually goes to Lum Invader from what is it? Urusei Yatsura. All right, so Lum Invader was the first known example of a tsundere character within like manga history. Okay, so. But Love Hina did pioneer the modern day harem rom-com series. So anything that you see today in manga or anime of harem, and harem, if you don't know, is when there is one lead role, could be male, could be female, it doesn't matter. If it's female, it's called a reverse harem, but it's still harem, okay, with a bunch of suitors. Bunch of potential suitors. So in Love Hina, there was your main character, and I believe there was 5 suitors. I think it increased by like 1 later on. I can't 100% remember, but that was the main point. It introduced harem into rom-coms. So really paving the way there, man, right? Like just degeneracy is what this man fell into. However, in 2002, he ended up marrying Kanon. So with Love Hina ending in 2001 with like the main character, spoiler alerts, main character ends up marrying Naru at the end of Love Hina. And then in 2002, him marrying Kanon, it's not like confirmed, but it definitely feels like Love Hina ended up being a love letter to his future wife, right? So, but that ended also up going forward into Negima, like it bled over. Like this dude is obsessed with his wife, right? So in Negima, the main heroine Asuna is completely based off of Kanon, and you can see that. We're gonna put up the twin tails here, and so I'm losing my train of thought. Hold on, let me spin around again. Okay. All right. So, The main difference between Love Hina and Negama is that Negama actually ended up turning from harem, which it started off to, and harem was like through the entire thing, and there was like a love story aspect to it of rom-com, but it ended up turning into fighting, right? And it's kind of a shame that like the anime butchered that. Like it ended up getting like 2 animes and a movie, and it just all kind of they all missed the point of it, because he wanted to show that he wasn't only capable of drawing pervy scenes, even though he spent like the last 2 decades cooped up in his house drawing panties. Okay, so he showed that he was also capable of drawing a lot of compelling fighting scenes and stuff, right? So then in 2013, he ended up starting UQ Holder, which was the sequel to Negama, right? And that lasted until 2022. Now, there was a lot of other things that were happening also between that, and but UQ Holder was kind of a flop, to be honest, and you'll see why here in a moment when I start to discuss more about what happened during this time period, like the transition from the end of Negama and all the way up until the end of UQ Holder. It was clear that his head wasn't totally there because he started getting active, right? Politically active. So what happened? So I think it was around 2008, but it didn't really jump like with both feet in until 2011, was a thing called the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Oreo, are you wanting to say hi? All right, hold on, pause. Trans-Pacific Partnership. Let's leave that out. Come here, Oreo. Woo! Oh my goodness. Say hi. You give a little bark? No? Oreo? No? Okay. All right. There you go. All right. No. Go. I'm trying to talk here, and you're clickety-clacking all over the place. All right. So, Trans-Pacific Partnership. All right. This is where we go off completely off the rails from what we were talking about before. It has a lot to do with a lot of different things. Gosh, Oreo. But the reason that it mattered to, before we get into like the different things of what it had to do with, the reason why it mattered to Ken was that it was going to adapt more stringent copyright laws. And Ken was about freedom of expression. So these stringent copyright laws would end up preventing artists from being able to do like anything with anybody's work. So like any kind of fan art, like you would end up getting criminally prosecuted off of it. Like it was that stringent. And so he advocated against this, and he was one of the big dogs that advocated against this, right? And the reason why he was one of the big dogs, to back up, because I can't remember if I said this or not, I can't find any information now about his net worth, but when I did the report on him back in 2009, he was like the top 10 in like highest paid artists in Japan, right? So top 10 manga artists in 2009. So he was riding the wave off of Love Hina and I Love You and Negama. Like he was a big dog. So he ended up putting his foot down with the what is it called? The LDP, the Liberal Democratic Party, which was pushing forward with the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and the big reason, and this is where it goes like haywire, right? So I said fan art. That also includes doujins, hentai. He went in to protect the rights of hentai artists. He made sure that you and I could still enjoy watching our favorite anime characters getting drawn in Rule 34. Okay? So be thankful to that man, because he is completely changed. He completely went off track with what all he wanted in life was to stay in his room and draw panties, and instead he was out there advocating for our rights to be able to enjoy hentai. Okay? Let's be clear about that. All right? Back to what we're talking about. 2011, Trans-Pacific Partnership. This also has to do, this is completely sidebar. It has the other parts of it that have nothing to do with that, because this thing was huge, all right? And it's still kind of huge. There's actually a secondary version now of of the Trans-Pacific. I think it's called the Comprehensive Treaty or something, CTTP or P or I don't know, something like that, right? And that one is in effect today. And let me get to it. So the TPP was going to involve 12 ally countries. All right, that was Australia, Canada, Mexico, Japan, USA, and a bunch of other like smaller time countries. Okay. This was going to, the main points of it is that it would have cut 18,000 tariffs from these countries because they were allies, right? And it was going to cut down on the stringent customs regulations between the countries. So it was promoting fair trade, right? Like it was promoting free trade, right? And you're like, well, Josh, what does that have to do with anything? I mean, currently our government is going on about adding more tariffs. Well, you need to understand what tariffs are. So tariffs is when in this country, I'm in the USA, and I want to buy something from a distributor in China, say dice for my game store, right? So I want to buy bulk dice from China, okay? In order to get that dice, I have to pay a tariff, right, in order for them to send it to me. So the price of those dice could have been, 45 cents per die, right? But now there's a tariff on it that makes them 55 cents per die, right? Or I don't know the exact math on, I'm just giving you an example, okay? Because it doesn't really show the breakdown or anything. You actually have to go and look up the law and like the specific amounts. It's just a percentage essentially, right? So I'm now paying more to get those dice, right, for them to send it over. And when they send it over, it ends up, customs catches it, and then they have to investigate it, and it ends up sitting in customs for like over a month. There has not been a single time that I have ordered anything, like as a company, ordered anything from out of country that it hasn't gotten stuck in customs for at least a month. Okay, sometimes longer. I ended up having an order come from Spain that was stuck there for 3 months, ended up getting sent back to Spain. I ended up having to pay for it to get shipped back over here, and it got stuck in customs again for another month. It was a whole back and forth process. So I'm really upset because the USA is not a part of it, nor is it a part of the CTPP. That's why I'm going through this now as a business owner, is because we didn't join the countries. Now, it would have only been between these countries, but that meant that if you order something from Japan, you don't pay the tariffs that go along with it to get it over here, and it doesn't get stuck in customs for very long, because it would have cut out a lot of the steps for it. But in 2016, Barack Obama ended up signing off of it, but then in 2017, when Donald Trump took over, he formally withdrew from it. To each their own opinion, I guess, on that. I think it's kind of a devastating effect because, I mean, you're talking about Australia, Canada, Mexico, Japan. Like, these are folks that we have close ties with. So, like, having fair, freer trade between them would have, personally, I mean, I'm not an economics person, but I am a business person. Knowing that I'd be able to order from Japan and be able to get, specific Japanese Pokemon goods for a cheaper price because I don't have to pay as many tariffs for it, and for it to be able to get shipped here quicker and not have to sit as long in customs would have been like mind-blowingly amazing. And I think anybody, I don't know why you wouldn't support it. Okay, so Now, I guess let me give you one last example before I move on, because it just occurred to me. Okay, so and you're like, well, that just, we impose those tariffs because we want people to be able to manufacture the goods here. Well, that's great and all, except for when you're Gundam, right? And I have a lot of people who like to make Gundam. Gundam is not produced here. I have to place an order 6 months in advance for it to get here, and it takes like 8 to 9 months before it actually gets here. And then the margins on them suck. So, for example, I have this $21 Gundam that I'm selling at MSRP. That's the MSRP, the market price for it, right? It's $21. I paid $18 for it, and waited 8 months to get it. I'm making $3. Making $3 off of it. What's up with that? That sucks. Why would you? What? But this is the only way. There's no competition here in America for that. Who's making Gundams in America? Because I don't know. Right? Like the closest you get is like 40K. That's still UK, United Kingdom. Which, by the way, the United Kingdom is a part of the CTPP. Okay? The United States is not. Even China has formally applied to be a part of it. They applied to be a part of it. They could see the benefits of being a part of this trade agreement. But we won't. No, we're too good for them. We got to bring manufacturing back to the state. We don't want your Gundams for more reasonably priced levels. No. We want to produce those Gundams here. Japan needs to bring their Gundam warehouse here. Produce them here. Anyways, back on track. Ken Akamatsu. Where are we with this guy? Right. He imposed them in 2011. Oh, I forgot. Let's rerun the clock just a wee bit. 2010, because this isn't relevant to the track that he is on, but it goes to show the links that he is wanting, or he was trying to go with, like his ideology. You can see his ideology like starting to form. So 2010, J-Kami, or Manga Library Z, was founded by Ken Akamatsu, and this was a service that provided out of print manga. So if you couldn't find it anymore, like, you could subscribe to the service and be able, or I don't know exactly how it works now, because unfortunately it ended up shutting down last year, November 26th of 2024. It shut down, which is really sad. The company quoted that due to like issues with credit card companies, the companies weren't wanting to be able to do payments with them for credit cards. So like if I had a MasterCard, they wouldn't, like, MasterCard wouldn't work with Manga Library Z. Words, Josh, words. Let me do another spin around. Woo. Okay. All right. So, the owners of Manga Library Z said that they are going to try to make a comeback here at some point. I don't know what they're planning on doing, but it was a great resource because like, there's so much stuff now. This 2025. There's a lot of stuff that's out of print, right? And having a service that is keeping up with that for you. So if you want to find older stuff, being able to go on there, and they had an English version, right? Just to be clear, Manga Library also had an English version as well that you could use. So I'm hoping that they bring that back. That'd be really nice to be able to go back and find old manga that's not in print anymore. So hold on. I'm talking too much. So Ken was fighting for our right to draw hentai, right? And that ended up putting him more in the eyes of the government because he was working directly with like the liberal, or working directly with like the JCA and the LDP. JCA, the Japan Cartoonist Association. And in 2013, he ended up working directly with JCA against the LDP, the Liberal Democratic Party, to oppose. This is going to be the hard part of our video here, of our program here. opposing an amendment to child pornography laws. What the hell? So, I can't defend this, but it is something that has to be talked about here because it is part of his life. And the continuation of our story here is that in 2013, an amendment was proposed by the LDP for their child pornography laws. The draft version that was leaked that Ken got active with to block was that it included wholly fictional depictions of lolicon manga and like its definitions, right? And that's really hard to. That's a hard. Sorry, I keep looking over here because I'm getting notifications of messages. My bad. So there's a lot of studies out there on this subject, especially with Japan. A lot of Japanese researchers on this. Go and do the research yourself about how this really went down, but ultimately the amendment was going to there was also other amendment. Let's just to clarify, this was during the time, if any of y'all remember, that there was several other amendments that were also trying to get passed at that time. One of them was depiction of blood, right? Y'all remember that? Depiction of blood in like anime, where they couldn't, a lot of animes during that time, instead of depicting blood as the color of blood, they were having to change the color so it wouldn't set off alarms with them, right? So it had to do with that. It had to do with the lolicon thing. There was something else. Anyways, go look it up. There was a big rash about it. It was all over. Well, I say the news, but it really wasn't. America didn't care. Like America media didn't care. So, but it was big news for Japan and a lot of artists and stuff there, because I mean it's directly affecting their ability to write stories, right? So, with Ken being an advocate for freedom of expression, he went against these amendments, specifically the lolicon one, and I just made a note of this because I just thought it was great. There was a lawyer specifically that made a case on this, and he called it the ethics of moe. You know that term, moe, right? That takes you back, doesn't it? Like 10 years ago, right? I haven't heard it in a long time, but the ethics of moe, and the other name they gave for it was the responsibility of the otaku. And this was about the amendment was going so far as that it could potentially prevent manga and animation studios from even depicting children at all in their stories, right? So they were trying to limit it down, and they ended up coming with a revised version where it's obviously you cannot sexualize, right? So you can't do that, but you were still able to. You've seen it. You've seen anime recently. I'm sure you've seen anime. I don't know why you would still be watching this if you haven't watched anime, right? Or read manga. So this is a very specific topic. So let's move on. This is awful. I have a daughter. She's 8. I do not support this stuff. I don't care for it. It is all over anime and manga. It's all in that scene. You can clearly tell though the difference between, and especially like you can clearly tell the difference when an artist is differentiating between a child and like an adult who's just short, right? Like there is an obvious difference, right? So let's just be clear about that. Anyways, moving on, right? He continued his work, and during that time, he was writing UQ Holder, and he ended up also, because of all of the problems during that time with copyright laws, and a lot of these things kept trying to get pushed and passed, especially with the TPP. The TPP got revised so many times, it ended up failing in 2018, and they ended up having to revise it. Well, in 2018, our boy Ken, he ended up getting appointed as the managing director of the JCA, of the Japan Cartoonist Association. So he is getting very active, right? There's not a whole lot of information between those times, other than just the back and forth litigation going on between over the TPP, right? During that time, though, because of those litigations and the problems going on, he ended up coming up with the Dojin mark. If I could put the Dojin mark up here. And this was a mark that was used for a short period of time. It's out of commission now, but this was, you could see it sometimes on some of the manga. It was depicted typically up underneath like the title of it. And this was like the author giving a limited license essentially to doujin artists and like fan artists to be able to use their work as long as they weren't specifically copying their story. So they could use the likeness. They were giving explicit they were giving explicit permission to use their characters and the names of their characters and other things, but they couldn't use their story. Right, so it's very interesting. I like the idea of it. I don't know why I'm clicking to it. I could just post the picture up here. So he did that during that time, and it was used for several years, and it's been retired since they've passed the CTPP, whatever. Go do research on that. Basically, the TPP ended up getting passed in, I think it's like 2021 or 2022. And it also has 12 countries. Does not include the USA, but it includes the United Kingdom. One of the key differences is that they actually adopted the copyright laws that America uses for their artists and authors. So that's, what is it? I think it's during their lifetime and then 70 years after they pass, right? So you can't use their exact works. You can reference them. You can do like fan art of them, as long as it's, like, you get it, right? Well, 2018, appointed director of JCA. He's getting active. 2021, he ends up announcing that he is running for the House of Councilors on the National Diet under the LDP, who he had opposed, 10 years before. Well, less than 10 years before, right? The House of Councilors is equivalent to the United States' Senate. So he's running for Senate, okay, in Japan. And he ends up promoting himself in 47 prefectures, campaigning, and he ends up winning on what he calls manga diplomacy. This is his freedom of expression. This is what he has been touting this whole time. Artists should have complete expression and their ability to draw whatever hentai that they want. If they want to hold themselves up in their rooms for 2 decades, drawing panties on their from their words, Josh, words. He's drawn panties. We're drawing panties every day for the next 20 years. And you can't stop us. Right? Manga diplomacy. He gets elected by popular vote. July 10th, 2022. He gets elected to the House of Councilors and the National Diet for a 6-year term. It's now 2025. He is about to enter his 3rd year, technically, because we're still in January. Well, by the time you see this, it'll be February. So he's entering his 3rd year, and last year, at the end of last year, November 13th of 2024, he ended up becoming the Vice Minister of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology, as well as the Vice Minister for Reconstruction and Political Affairs. This guy did a 180. He was the first manga artist to become a politician, like an elected Senate. What? His defense of hentai got him a seat in the national diet. He's the vice minister of education. What? How do you do that? As of the liberal Democratic Party for defending lolicon. It's wild to me. Like, it's completely different. It's like the United States and Japan just went just completely different directions. Anyways, that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. And if you like this, if you want me to do some more deep dives, let me know. Give me a like. Tell me how you enjoyed it. I might continue this series of random things that I learn, or I might jump into things that I already know. Talk about business or something. I don't know. It was good. I enjoyed it. I liked it. Did you like it? Well, anyways, me and my dog, we say goodbye. Y'all have a great afternoon, or evening, or morning. Later.